Hey everyone, and welcome to Prune Belly Insiders. I'm your host, Michael Adams, and today I got a special guest for you. Everybody, please welcome Robert Newkirk.
Hi, everybody. How are you all doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing okay.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I was born with prune belly syndrome. I was diagnosed after birth because at that time, they really didn't have any way of diagnosing prune belly syndrome. I am now 55 years old, and life has been awesome.
That's amazing.
They thought at first I was born without kidneys until they did an X-ray, and then they found out I have kidneys. My mother said I shook the doctor's hand before I was born. After that, I have been a lifelong patient of Children's Hospital, Pennsylvania. Rough estimate, somewhere around 20 different surgeries. 10 of them were complete rebuilds of the plumbing system. I have less than 20% abdomen muscles, which leads to a decreased diaphragm interaction. I also have chicken chest, which has led to multiple fractured ribs over the years.
Okay. So, what's your outlook on doctors and hospitals? Have you had a fairly good experience, bad experience, somewhere in the middle?
I've had really good experience with the right doctors. At that time at Children's Hospital, my doctor was a Mr. Smith. My two interns at that time was Dr. John Duckett and Edward Coop, who became the Surgeon General of the United States.
Wow.
It's only when I run into these little hospitals that don't really have a clue. My local hospital wasn't sure what was going on with me when I was in complete kidney failure. The doctor looked at the EKG and the test results and said, I don't understand these. So the next morning, we went up to Children's Hospital.
Wow.
At that time, I was put on peritoneal dialysis. I was 16 years old. They put a fistula in my left arm for hemodialysis. And by that November, I had my kidney transplant by my sister, Sandy. We were a 6-6 match.
All right. And just out of curiosity, how is your relationship with your sister, or do you have any other siblings?
Oh, yeah, we're a big family, total of 6. Everybody was tested. Sandy was the best match, and we get along perfectly today. Once in a while, she'll tell me she has a pain in her side if I do something wrong. We also, when I was on dialysis, did dialysis in a tent at Fort Wilderness for like 5 nights.
Wow.
And then we found out they have a facility for that. We never knew.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So, do you deal with any pain or anything like that with prune belly syndrome?
My hips are weaker because the abdomen didn't form right. It would pull the hips together to close them. I have lower back and rib pain.
All right. Now I know I'm going back a little bit far here, but you said you had 20% of your stomach muscles?
Yes.
Have you ever had like an abdominal plasti or anything along those lines to help give you muscles in your stomach?
They tried to tighten the muscles, but it really didn't work. Beyond that, nothing else was available that they knew of at Children's Hospital.
Wow. Yeah, because I had multiple abdominal plasties. None of them worked, unfortunately. But I know there is this new well, I don't know if it's new, but there is a surgery out now where they take some of your thigh muscles and move them to your stomach.
Gotcha. Well, with all that, everybody needs to remember with prune belly syndrome, it affects the bowels. It either directly affects or side effects. The side effect is because you do not have proper stomach muscles, it is harder for us to go to the bathroom because the stomach muscles hold the bowels in place. So as the bowels are going through their crawl to get rid of the feces, it's not as strong as it would be on another person because we're usually larger in the bowel section due to the lack of stomach muscles.
Yeah. So, did you
You will
have it?
have
Sorry, go ahead.
you will have some people out there that have prune belly syndrome with colostomy bags and other things because their stomach muscles were too weak to properly assist in the removal of waste.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I went to a very good, well, at the time considered very good children's hospital at the time. And they wanted to put that colostomy bag on me very young. I can't remember exactly how young it was. My parents disagreed with it at the time and said no. I ended up, I think it was after my first transplant when it was right after transplant, how you're on the ICU or what, I don't know what the floor, post-surgery, whatever that post-transplant floor is. I can't remember what it's called, but there's a doctor there who said, I think I know what this might be. Take this medication. I'm still on it today. I think, what was that? Was it Ducalax? It was Ducalax. And she said she gave it to her son. Now, by this time at that hospital I went to, I've seen probably about 3 different GI doctors. And this was a general pediatrician giving me this Ducalax, who just happened to be on the floor at the time to see me. It worked.
Yeah, I do Senecot twice a day, Senecot S.
Wow.
So it helps the situation, but I have to plan if I take it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
My normal job, I am an emergency medical technician. I treat street, critical care, and in-house transports. Breaking that down, I do everything from 911 to transporting your granny to a nursing home, and it's a blast.
That sounds absolutely amazing because I was debating on that, but right now I just have a little bit too much going on medically to go through the program. I don't have the time to commit to it.
Well, look at it this way. No matter how horrible your life is going, that person on the stretcher, their life is worse. So it helps you go into perspective.
Yeah.
I did 3 or 4 summers in the city of Wildwood as a firefighter EMT. That was a blast. It's a real family setting.
Yeah. I actually work with my local fire and rescue squad here, volunteer. I used to have an auction the first Friday of every month, and I would donate 10% right off the top straight to the fire hall to help them.
Nice.
And I'd be during that time I'd donate to food pantries, multiple churches. I've donated to a couple people as well, but it was just a good way for me to engage with the community, make good friends, and kind of forget my trouble for a while.
We all have unique abilities. And if we hone in on those unique abilities, it'll make our life better and people around us better. My true love is photography. At my highlight, I was doing 20,000 photos a year. I have been published since '89 in trade magazines.
Wow.
And photos of the firefighters as they're training, as they're on fire scenes. Sometimes inside of the structure, I do photos when it's on fire.
Wow.
I do the fire academy here in Cape May County. And we have a special procedure we go through if there's a line of duty death. And what we do is we pull all the photographs. We make a disc for inside the church to play. And then that disc is donated to the family so they can see another part of life of their loved one they never saw.
That's absolutely amazing.
It is awesome.
Wow. That sounds absolutely amazing. And
Yeah.
that must definitely be something good for the families too.
It helps them move on. On most
Yeah.
fires, don't go. So in my world, I'm lucky because there is no yellow line to stop me. I just go and get the photos.
Yeah. So, all right. Growing up, did you have any friends or bullies or anything along those lines?
Yeah, I had a lot of bullies in high school. I had, luckily, my sister was a big bodyguard. I got stuffed in a couple of lockers. I was only 4'11" at 79 pounds as a freshman in high school. After my transplant, I shot up to 5'8", 200 pounds. And that was within a year. So after that, the bullying stopped. But I found my greatest defense against the bullies is verbally. Sometimes that still gets me in trouble when I can talk faster than I can think. I had a lot of local friends, and even with the peritoneal catheter tube, I was still playing football with my friends. They all knew what to do and what not to do. One problem we have is we're so scared to tell people that we're not normal in the normal sense that it leads us into injuries.
Yeah.
Where you, with a certain core bunch, tell them what's going on, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. So does pain stop or affect your job at all?
Not normally until the last year when I had severe hip pain. I needed total hip replacement. Unknown if that's due to my lifestyle or the anti-rejection drugs. Bone will eat bone. When I was on the anti-rejection drugs, I was on extremely high doses. I was 190 of prednisone. I'm sorry, 90 of prednisone, 86 of what's called Imuran.
Yeah.
And both of
I'm
them
on that.
bones like Pez's. So we don't know exactly what was the input. Normal painful day is about a 5. And I've learned to work through that. When a massive storm comes up the coast, it can shoot up to a 7 or an 8 within hours.
Wow.
Beyond that, I just keep running. I'm used to pain.
Yeah, and honestly, that's a sad statement, but I think it's one a lot of prune bellies can make.
The problem is they haven't learned the difference between a drug addict and somebody who truly needs the meds to move forward.
Thank you.
Everybody's afraid everybody's going to become addicted. Well, if you have a reason for the meds, you're not going to become addicted. And the doctors all say it wrong. The doctors be like, take this pill, it'll take care of your pain. No, take this pill and it will ease up your pain so that you can proceed with life. And that's a major argument I've had with doctors.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many arguments I've had for the same thing. And even, I mean, they've never come right out and said I was a drug seeker, but in the way they act, the way they treat you, you can kind of see the signs. You know what I mean?
Well, what I do when I'm getting that feeling from the guys, I will hand them my pain management doctor or a doctor that I know has the best training in prune belly syndrome and say, call this person because right now you're acting stupid.
Yeah.
A perfect example is I took a patient to, I believe it was University of Penn, and he was 4 weeks out from a transplant.
Mm-hmm.
Tons to talk about in the back of the rig. When I got to University of Penn, I had an intern. The intern scared the living crap out of the family,
How?
saying, okay, he's in rejection. This is going on. This is going on. We're going to do this. These tests need to be done immediately. I said, Doc, doc said, this is my patient. I said, no, not until you sign my paperwork. This is still my patient. So let's get over here and talk. I showed him the labs. I went through everything with him. I said, now, can you stop scaring the hell out of my patient? He's like, oh, something that you geniuses forget to tell everybody is there'll be certain times a year where your body will say, that's it, I'm done. And you might sleep for 16, 17 hours. You might be exhausted and your body will reset itself. But freaking out on somebody for that reason is wrong.
Yeah.
So the doctor looked at me as, you're just an EMT. No, sir. I am an EMT that had a kidney transplant next door before you were born. And he looked at me and goes like, we've never had a transplant drop off a transplant. I said, well, it's too late now to make brownie points. Don't scare my patient.
Yeah.
And I got hollered at for it, but I didn't care.
Yeah. I actually have probably two comments though. One is when I go to a doctor like that most of the time and I tell them, look, you have to stop treating them like that, they'll say, well, you don't understand. We see these drug seekers, not these people, even if they're not drug seekers, we see drug seekers coming in. Okay. I understand you have to be aware of that, but that
Right.
should not be the very first thing you go to.
I agree 100%.
In my opinion.
They need to be recalibrated and retaught the difference.
Yeah.
And they get so stuck on one thing. Right now, the biggest thing, everybody wants me to take aspirin. Okay, the last time I took aspirin, I had a severe GI bleed. My blood count went to 6.2. Why in the hell do you want me to go on aspirin?
Wow.
And the cardiologist is like, well, you have to. I said, I'm not going on aspirin. He's like, well, you can have a stroke. Do you understand you're killing me one way or another?
Yeah.
I'm up to death or I'm going to have a stroke. Which one's the worst?
Mm.
No, in our type of lifestyle with prune belly syndrome, we look at life a little differently. I am not afraid of death. I've been there.
Yeah.
Life hurts like hell, and that's a hell of a lot more scarier.
Yep. And I know not all doctors look at this, but I think me as a doctor personally would. And I can't make the decision, so I'm going to give them all the facts, obviously. But my advice would go more based on quality of life, more than is he going to survive this?
Correct.
Because you can survive just about anything. You know what I mean? You can have diabetes and have to get your say your leg amputated as an example. You can survive that, but are you gonna be happy with that life?
Right. Let's say if it's a soccer player, now you're taking away their leg. There goes their livelihood.
Exactly.
And that's the way we do it in the field of EMS. If let's say we have a piano player and his hands are injured, we'll fly that person out because it's a life-altering event.
Yeah.
And that's how people have to look at it.
Yep. That's why one of my favorite memes that was going around Facebook for a while, I don't know if it still is is a picture of this, I think it was like a 70-year-old lady talking to this doctor. And the doctor telling the lady, don't you confuse your 5-minute Google search with my 4 years at medical school. Then the lady responds, well, don't you confuse your 1-hour lecture on my condition with my 20 years of living with it.
Yeah.
Because honestly, only the patients know what it's like to actually live with the condition. You can know
Yeah.
all the facts about the condition, but at the end of the day, you don't know what it feels like to live with it.
Right. And that's, we've broken up into so many specialties nowadays. A and B doctors can't always talk to compared 20 years ago when we had a family doctor that wasn't afraid of making the phone calls.
Yeah.
You can't get these doctors to make proper phone calls to each other. It's ridiculous. Every time I have a test or procedure done, I get the results. That way, when somebody starts saying, well, here you go. I got a file about that thick in the last year.
Wow.
So it is our job to interact with the proper doctor, to explain to him what's going on, for him to be able to treat us properly. And if the doctor's not understanding, then it's time to find a new doctor.
Yeah. I've had to switch a couple times because of that, actually.
Yeah, and I've been lucky because I've handpicked my doctors. I work for a hospital-based system, Atlantic Care. They
Oh,
have very loving to me the whole time. My
wow.
super know my medical condition due to the fact of what I do. They have never stopped me from doing my job, but they're always like, okay, go take 5 minutes. So the interaction is great, and that has led me to be able to pick my doctors.
Yeah.
And it's a family feeling hospital, which is scary for people to understand, but we actually look out for each other physically and mentally.
That's absolutely amazing. I know it's hard to find a job like that.
Yeah. I have been out of work since December 8th due to having my carotid artery done. And I've received a paycheck the whole time due to Family Leave Act.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
great. So, how do you manage your pain?
Tylenol, rest, and sometimes stretching.
All right. So, what advice would you give a prune belly patient who's depressed or has anxiety or just feels upset or is wondering why they have prune belly or why this is happening to them?
Oh, I understand that feelings very much. From time to time, they will pop up. We need to talk to people like us. Now, it took 54 years for me to know that there was other patients out there. I was always told there was, but I've never met them. They need to seek religious help. They need to talk to an expert that can help them. And there's no better expert than somebody who's already been through it.
Yeah.
Simply say the sun will come out tomorrow and you'll feel better. That's BS. They need to understand what's going on so that they can make the best decisions for them. And the best way to do that is to talk to survivors.
Yep. Which is part of the reason I started this channel, because I have I don't know if you've been watching, but I have doctors on, I have other survivors on, parents, siblings, because I want to get, aside from raising awareness, which is like my number one, number two goal with this, it also shows other prune bellies who come across it. There are other ones surviving with it. We're living decent to good lives and are actually surviving.
I would put it, I'm living an awesome life. I can't tell you how many lives I've saved in my time. I can tell you how many people looked at me with tears in their eyes, afraid they're going to die. It's like, no, not on my ship. I've talked to people that have tried to commit suicide that we were able to talk down off the ledge. I talked to a priest one day I was taking to a other facility, and his opinion was that he had failed God because he started drinking. I was like, you are not perfect. You're supposed to fail. That's the only way we get better. And if we stumble as PBS patients, try it again. Don't allow the world to tell you what you can and cannot do. Do it in moderation. Because for a lot of us, a hit in the right spot in the stomach is going to be massively screwed up.
Or lethal.
Yeah. Because a lot of people forget that, your artery, AAA, runs straight down. Well, we don't have the stomach muscles to protect it. We don't have the stomach muscles to protect other major organs that can rupture if we're hit in the wrong spot. Yes, I was playing football. Yes, I got kicked in the belly. And I shouldn't have been doing it, but it's okay. I survived. It hurt, but I survived.
Yeah. So,
Here's something quick for everybody. Because of the PBS, and if you have weakened stomach muscles and pigeon chest, your diaphragm will not form properly. So that'll be weakened because the stomach muscles hold to it and pull it into shape. So you will have some respiratory issues. They are some of the most severe ones that need to be addressed immediately. So learn your body.
yeah. All right. Are you in a relationship?
Not right now. I was,
Have you?
of course, but not right now.
All right. Now, in the past, when you've been in relationships, how long did you wait to tell somebody that you had prune belly syndrome?
Maybe 2 or 3 dates.
All right.
Because in my line of work, what do I end up dating? Nurses.
Yeah.
I had a nurse look at me and say, you have prune belly syndrome. And it blew me away, but she was 100% correct. It was the first time I ever met the nurse.
Wow.
Because the belly was shaped.
Wow. Wait, a nurse? I'm shocked she knew what prune belly syndrome was, to be honest with you.
I believe she worked at Children's Hospital at one point.
Okay.
So.
All right, that would make more sense.
Yeah.
All right. So, just a couple more, well, 1 or 2 more questions, and that is there anything else you would like to share?
Yes, take a drink of water. We all need water, and as much as we can get in our body, the better it is. I do 2 liters a day. That does not include anything with caffeine. Anything that has caffeine does not count as fluid intake.
Thanks for that, because I always used to use that with the doctors too, because it's funny. They always said drink fluid is the word they would always use with me. So I'd be drinking soda, fruit punch, basically stuff that doesn't hydrate you as much, or they really wouldn't count.
Yep.
And I'd always say, well, you didn't say water specifically. You said drink fluid, which I did.
Right now, I have a colostomy tube. And last week, I drained my tube at like 11:30. Woke up at 7:30 in the morning and had over 3,200 cc's output.
Wow.
In less than 8 hours. So in that case, I went ahead and I did a Pedialyte just as a precaution in case I put everything out.
Yeah.
Now, I only have the nephrostomy tube between the bladder and the kidney collapsed. Unknown cause. It's 40 years old. I go in next Friday and they should be able to reopen it. And then I'll lose the nephrostomy tube.
All right.
Positive foot of your mind will help you a lot. If you lay around saying, woe is me, that's not a life. And you're not giving yourself a chance to have a life.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, do you have any trouble eating?
No,
Or have you had it in the past?
no, I have hoof to mouth disease. Everything goes in.
Oh.
Get near me, man. When I was on that prednisone, I would walk across, I'd walk near a swimming pool and feel like I was drowning. But food, I can get usually away with anything, and I will have some heartburn, but that's the most of it.
Wow. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. So if anyone watching had questions, would you be willing to come back on and answer them?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
All right. Well, I think that's all for today. Thank you for coming on, Rob.
No problem. Enjoy your day. Anybody wants to join me on Facebook, join me on Facebook or TikTok.
All right. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Please share the video. Together we can hashtag spread prune belly awareness. And I'll see you next week. Thank you for watching.